Let's resume our meeting. Just now, Mr. Luk Chung Hong completed his line of questions in part 3 or part 2. I give the floor to Mr. Paul Tse. Chair, before the break, we were asking how inspections of the agency and the council could be done together, and the answer was because the inspections were of a different nature. But if we look at para 2.21, it appears that the agency's inspections were mainly on whether there was bogus classes, and for the council, they would ask for the attendance rates as well as the materials used, etc. I'd like to know what the agency, what criteria would the agency use to assess whether there was a bogus class going on. Administration. When we conduct surprise inspections, we would first follow the timetable reported to us, the reported number of students and whether students were present, if not, the justifications, etc. Let's see if the head has anything to add. The controller. Thank you. We will first find out the class schedule given to us at the point of registration, and also the details such as the number of students, etc. So our purpose is mainly to find out whether the course is really as reported. If there is any discrepancy, they will have to account for it, and then we'll have to take follow-up action. So our inspection is simple to see whether the class is as registered. Mr. Tse, now if the audit commission is to conduct an audit and just come in and see whether we're here, so it's relatively simple. But then if the audit is on compliance, whether we are doing as reported, is even more difficult. So if they just come in to see whether we are indeed conducting a meeting and then what we are doing, why can't one audit achieve 2 missions? Mr. Wen, in the past, there were indeed reports to us. And then there were joint inspections conducted by the agency and the council, and who were talking about more serious allegations. For instance, there was a complaint from a student about the quality of the course, and then the course content was not. There was a departure from the course content, and also the delivery of the course, and also record of attendance was problematic. So in those cases, after discussion with the council, we conducted joint visits in order to check everything. It was a surprise inspection to catch the course provided off guard. So a lot of coordination is required, and that takes time as well. So if one department or one organization is to do all, then no coordination is needed. First, you go and check whether a class is indeed going on, the number of students, and then you check whether they comply with what is registered. I think it will be easier if one organization is to do it on its own. Because too many cooks spoil the broth. So why can't you ask one single organization to do it all? I don't think my question has been answered. Secretary, perhaps Mr. Wan can supplement. Theoretically speaking, that can be done. I do get what Mr. Tse meant. And That means the council will have to do it because it will cover the quality of the course, the brochures, leaflets, etc. But we have to consider resources required. For instance, the agency conducts 252 inspections a year when the council can only carry out 85 council inspections because they are more complicated in nature. So the agency will only check whether there are bogus classes and bogus students. If we can only conduct 85, then I'm afraid we won't be able to achieve the target or the sampling standard. So the merit of the current system is the council can carry out more in-depth inspections. We have to balance this with the use of resources. We will see whether there is a way out. Mr. Paul, do you have to pay the council? The answer is yes. Let me finish my question first. Let me complete my questions first. All right. We're a government department. So we did not charge the Bureau for each and every of our inspection. So for unsuccessful inspections, the council charge for that as well. So I'd like to know the payment arrangements between the Bureau and also the council. No, the council is not a government department. In the last part, we said that there is an agreement, so we paid them every time they conduct a visit. So it's different from the agency. It has got staff there already. We ask them to do the work for us. So you have to pay one and not the other. So why can't the agency do it all so that you don't have to pay the council? But the agency doesn't possess the ability of the council because they will look at the design, the assessment, the assignment of the courses as well. The agency is not equipped with that ability. It's the work of the council to check the course content and assignment. All right. If in one go, you observe the quality, for instance, the audit come in to check that whether we are having a PAC meeting, how many of us are present, and also the quality of our discussion. Is better to do it in one go than to have different inspections. And now you're saying that class inspections are not being done because of COVID. Now we are doing a value for money study. And you give us the impression that you are not taking taxpayers' money serious. I'll come back to this point later. I'd like to know, now looking at the report, para 2.31, sorry, I got the wrong paragraph perhaps. The agency has got a written record on remedial actions required, but the other doesn't provide any report. It will only give verbal advice on remedial actions. Am I correct? That's under para 2.31. Yes, we thank the audit for pointing out this undesirable arrangement. Indeed, the agency will issue a follow-up paper for remedial actions when the council only inform course providers of observations and remedial actions at the spot verbally. We will follow up.
Mr. Porte, the Council looks at things in greater detail. Compliance requires examination in greater detail. In another paragraph, it says that 2.31b, in 47% of the cases, no follow-up was done. That was all done orally, no records, no minutes, no written records. How was the follow-up action taken? That wasn't done in a serious manner. We agree with the audit observations of the shortcomings. So in our future service agreements, we will do better. When follow-up action is taken in the future, they will be done through writing. An inspection has to be completed before it is reported as an inspection completed in a report to us. I'm sure other members will follow up on the point about inspections that were charged despite being unsuccessful. The fees were charged, but the work wasn't done. Standard charges applied even during unsuccessful visits. Service was charged by the hour, and it was charged for the whole slot. If that's how tax dollars were paid, I don't think taxpayers would find it acceptable. Secretary, we agree and accept the observations from the Director of Audit regarding our observations. For the unsuccessful inspections over the past 5 years, we will recover those service fees. We have indicated that in writing. In our future service agreements with the Council, we will make it clear that an inspection means inspection that is completed. There will also be provisions on recovery of service fees. I will see if my colleague from the Council will have anything to add. Now, we agree with the audit report. In paragraph 2.29, audit believes that for unsuccessful inspections, post-inspection reports, drafting, and report clearance should not be included under the service fees. So we agree that these should be removed from the chargeable items. Our resources are focused on follow-up actions for cases where problems were identified. So we recommend to the LWB that we agree that when we don't see anyone showing up at class during surprise inspections, we will do 3 additional surprise inspections. If further problems are found, we will recommend stronger enforcement actions. Before surprise inspections, we will also step up our intelligence gathering. We try not to alert the course provider before surprise inspections. Apart from finding out information online and over the phone, we'll also send officers to gather information by alternative means before surprise inspections to increase the rate of success of our surprise inspections. We are grateful to the Audit Commission. Every time audit exercises are conducted, improvement follows. For one of the parties, all of their inspections were successful, but for the other party, 43.7% of the inspections were unsuccessful. So does it mean that the Council was being sloppy, whereas the agency was very persistent and diligent? I would think that the party that gets paid will be more serious with their work, but it turns out to be the other way around with the case at hand. Why is this the case? For surprise inspections, we couldn't get hold of the people. There was no follow-up, but the work took time. Anything from you, Secretary? No elaboration from me. Next, Mr. Edmund Wong. Chair, in paragraph 2.9, in September 2021 all the way to March 2022, 39 renewal applications were considered. 39 of them were submitted late. That is, every application for renewal came in late from the course providers. Has the government found out why the late submission? Were applications in previous years submitted on time, or did they come in late? Were there consequences for late submission? I will invite Mr. Stanley Wen to take the question. For renewal, the requirement is that for CEF courses, the application has to come in 4 months before the expiry date of the CEF registration. We write to the course providers on a regular basis. We do have this bring up system that will alert us. Now, why so many late submissions? After these reminder letters are sent and received by the course providers, this means the course providers are aware of the alert. They thought they still had time even after the reminders. They needed time to prepare for the documents. Many course providers did not consider the renewal applications to be a priority. They prioritized new applications for CEF registrations over the renewal applications. So we had to remind the course providers before they submitted their renewal applications. In the end, the course providers failed to get their application in on time. This is not satisfactory. Penalty mechanisms are in place. Late submissions are in breach of the conditions of the CEF. Now, depending on the seriousness of the late submission, we may take regulatory actions. Reminders or even warning letters may be issued. So we need both reminders and also deterrence to get the course providers to submit their renewal applications on time. Were there penalties imposed in the past? We haven't had cases where we had to issue warning letters, but we will keep monitoring the situation. Mr. Edmund Wong, I don't get it. I'm an accountant by profession. I need to renew my license punctually. This is part of my profession. Without a license, I cannot practice. That's very important. I fail to see how the course providers did not consider renewal a priority. Just then, the chairman also raised this question on my behalf. Has the government come across cases where the CEF registration was revoked because of a failure to submit renewal applications on time? Were the students affected? Was the government being lenient to course providers? And course providers took it for granted that their renewal applications would be approved anyhow. For late submissions, the application came in before the expiry of the CEF registrations. In most cases, the applications came in before the expiry of the CEF registration. We also expedited our processing, so there was no break between the submission and the renewal. But in certain cases, the applications came in after the expiry. We would look into whether that course provider organized courses in breach of the regulations. We haven't had those cases, but we will tackle the problem at root and do better, Mr. Edmund Wong. Are there figures showing past cases where renewal applications were rejected and students were affected? This question remains unanswered. Mr. Stanley Wen, I don't have figures at hand. We will provide the figures in writing after the meeting, Mr. Edmund Wong. In paragraph 2.21, a point touched by the Deputy Chairman. The Council and the agency conducted their respective inspections. They looked at different things. For the agency, they would conduct 252 inspections, whereas for the Council, they would do 85 inspections a year. Would there be cases where both parties inspected the same course provider one after another? Secretary, I don't have the figures. Could it be the case under the system? Chair, I don't have the figures, but I cannot rule out the possibility that this happened. Can you provide the figures on the inspections conducted by the agency and the Council over the years? Chair, this is about value for money. We need to see whether the money spent is money well spent. We also have to consider the course providers. Having inspections from the government 2-3 times down in a year may also have an impact on the course providers. I have no other questions, Chair. Next, Ms. Carmen Khan. Chair, I have 4 questions. Now, the Chief Executive set up the Office for Attracting Overseas Talent. The Continuing Education Fund is important. We need to both attract and retain talent in paragraph 2.14 and 15. Reimbursable courses. In terms of funding, we have $10.6 billion unused, but in 2018, at the Finance Committee of LegCo, there was 7,800 courses and 4,000 additional courses were expected, such that the total would be more than 11,000 courses. But then the total only adds up to 7,298 courses according to the report. In the executive summary, page 5 of the Chinese copy, there's a summary. The Audit Commission became aware that for the 7,298 courses, if these course providers fail to renew their registration by 31st of March 2023, 3,174 cases would lose their validity or registration, so we will only have 4,000 or so cases left as reimbursable cases. The government pledged to remind the agency, and the agency will remind the course providers to renew their registration. I'm worried about the number of courses that will be left, that they will drop to roughly 4,000 courses after March 31st, 2023. Now let's turn to quality. Paragraph 2.2. The Council assesses course delivery quality. This is just the administrative bit in 2.2a. The Council only looks at enrollment, attendance, hours, etc. But the Council apparently does not look at whether that course is in line with the CEF's purpose, that is, nurturing talent for a knowledge-based economy, for a globalized economy. Of course, we can have a separate conversation about that. But then, the Council is supposed to provide advisory services to the Labor and Welfare Bureau. Shouldn't it also be part of the Council's job to look at the quality of the courses? Chair, I will take the first question. Now, we look at both the quantity and quality of the courses under CEF after April 1st, 2019. That is, after this so-called grace period, all courses need to be registered in the qualifications register. This is to ensure quality. We do what we can to get course providers to register their courses in the qualifications register, but it is ultimately up to the course providers to register their courses in the QR. Once the transitional period is over, the number of courses available will drop, but every year there will be new courses that are provided. Based on the figures I have, over the past 3 years, every year we have seen 1,300 courses, new courses, that is the net increase of courses each year. Now, the CEF covers a wide range of courses to give people a wide range of choices. The courses cover language to handicraft, everything. It's hard to tell whether a particular course is in line with Hong Kong's economic development. It's easier to look at things on the quantitative side of things. And maybe my colleague from the Council will have more to say on this. The Council will focus on the quality, admissions requirements, whether it's in line with the course requirements. We'll also look at the coursework. Does it reflect the competencies? Do we have the qualified instructors for the course? These are related to the quality of a course. We look at these things. We have an open mind as to whether we will be looking at additional things when we assess a course. Ms. Carmen Khan. Chair. I have reservations about the perspective taken by the government. This CEF is supposed to future-proof our population. There is the qualifications framework. Courses need to be registered with them. We need to prepare our population for the future. Let's look at the 14 categories in the executive summary. Is the government putting form before substance? You can look at the course requirements, but then shouldn't we also be looking at whether the course actually meets our needs? Let's return to the part about additional courses registered each year. Based on the figures found by the audit, in 2009-2010, there were 2,000 or so new courses each year, but then in recent years, the number dropped to 360 courses per year. Last year, we started allowing online courses. This makes sense during COVID, but as at June 30th this year, the government received no application for CEF registration for online courses. We shouldn't be just sitting on our hands. The government said there's nothing the government could do if the course provider chooses not to apply for CEF registration. This is supposed to be a more proactive government. Can we have collaboration between the government and course providers? Can we get course providers to send their applications in? We are too passive. We're waiting for course providers to renew their CEF registration or apply for CEF registration. There is still a $10.6 billion of funding sitting there waiting to be used. This is the point I want to raise with the Audit Commission and the government.
Ms. Khan was referring to 2.15b. The number of courses will drop from 2019 from 2,225 to 360 in 2023. She asked a question about online courses. Let's see if the relevant department has any responses. And also she made the comment that the government department should be more active and see if more new courses can be created to nurture talents. Secretary, please. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Khan. We proposed online classes because we want to provide more diversified classes to meet market trends. I understand Ms. Khan's perspective that a capable government should do more, but the purpose or aim of CEF is to provide funding and a platform so that course providers who are willing to provide relevant services can get the resources that they need, and also interested participants can get the resources. It defeats the purpose if we collaborate with certain partners to hold courses. For the 200-some course providers, a lot of them are educational institutions that we are familiar with. A lot of them are famous and prestigious institutions in Hong Kong. I hope to take this opportunity to appeal to these institutions to make good use of the funding provided by CEF to help members of the general public to equip themselves. I think it may not be feasible for the government to provide courses themselves or monitor institutions to provide certain courses, but I agree that we should make good use of the resources provided by the CEF. Also, it was mentioned that there will be an 84% drop in the number of new courses. What is your view on that? According to 2.15b of the report, there will be a drop in the number. For newly registered courses in year 2019 to 20, starting from April that year, there was newly registered courses, and it is in line with the enhancement measures. That is, the amount of funding would be increased from $10,000 to $25,000. And for course providers who have their registration in QR, they have been more active in submitting applications, but after a while we saw the number stabilizing. For us, the number of 2,225 we saw was quite a unique situation. There was a sharp increase, which is not in line with the situations we saw in other years. And so, if you simply look at the number, the figure of some 300 courses is normal. Ms. Khan, well, $25,000 for each participant is not little, so I think participants can be more, or we can be more proactive. For Finance Committee number LW129, it was relevant to the topic we discussed today, that is the top 20 courses that are using the CEF. And they're mostly language proficiency courses, for example, Japanese or Korean courses. I hope that the Council, as an advisory body who provides advice to the government, would look at the courses in from this perspective, instead of simply carrying out administrative tasks. This is my first question. Any response from the department or the Bureau? Perhaps I can understand Ms. Khan's question this way. There is a relatively high percentage for course participants to enroll in language proficiency courses. Is that your question? Well, we see that language proficiency courses belong to the top 20 items for the CEF to be used. For the government or the council, when you assess these courses, do you think that nothing more has to be done and you just let course providers freely provide the courses as they wish and nothing more needs to be done? I get it now. In the existing labor market in Hong Kong, for those who have received tertiary education, they account for 40% of the work labor in Hong Kong. That means there are over 40% of the labor in Hong Kong who has not received tertiary or professional education. Ordinary laborers attach importance to their language skills, especially those who want to be promoted in their career. I noticed that usually some basic language courses are popular among Hong Kong people. I understand that if we want to transition to a knowledge-based economy, we want more people to enroll in innovation and technology courses, and there are such courses provided by course providers. But for ordinary adults, it is important for them to develop their language skills. I think the numbers shows that in this moment, what kind of skills Hong Kong people want to enhance for their self-enhancement. I think this may not be a bad thing. To learn a new language or a foreign language, I don't see it incompatible with the economic development of Hong Kong. But in terms of the design of other courses or implementation of other courses, I think we can look into it to see what more we can do to help Hong Kong transition to a knowledge-based economy. Ms. Khan, please. I think language skills is important, but I think the government should take a more active role. For example, LWB and other government bureau mentioned that we should develop green economy and also develop fintech, etc. Is it possible for the government to reach out to institutions who are interested in providing these courses? I just want to see if there can be a change of attitude on the government's part. I don't need the secretary to respond to this. further. My third question is related to the target number of 252 for inspections. Which paragraph are you referring to? 2.22. 2.22 and 2.23. Well, 252 has been set at as the hard target. And we mentioned the need of reviewing this target number. But with more scheduled inspections, there will be fewer surprise inspections. I think it is a good point here made by the audit. We should look at the risk assessment instead of sticking to the same formula in terms of the inspection target. I'll defer the question to agency. Thank you, Chair. We agreed that we should base our target number on our risk assessment. So in the future, when we devise the formula, we will also take risk assessments into consideration. Ms. Khan. It was pointed out by some members about the problems with the surprise inspections and scheduled inspections. And let's see the purposes or the use of surprise inspections carried out by the Council. Well, the target set by LWB was 85. Let's look at Table 8. Over the past 5 years, because of the COVID situation, the target number was adjusted, and the overall number of inspections carried out was 400, but the successful inspections carried out account for 50% only. That means they took the money, but the inspections were not successful. For example, they simply went to the premises and rang the bell and no one was there. But still, they counted it as 14 to 25 hours for the time spent on inspections. I understand that there are no existing clauses related to this in the agreement at the moment, because you have to recover, or you can only recover the service fees now. But I want to see if anyone is held accountable in terms of the management problems. Well, they made the declaration for the service fees, or they asked for this amount of service fees, and it is only after audit inspection that it was found out the actual number of inspections carried out is this. Anything to add by the Council? Yes, Mr. Chow, please. For the surprise inspections conducted by us, be it successful or unsuccessful, we submitted reports to the Bureau. And from the report, you can see that there was a certain number of inspections that were unsuccessful. According to the papers, you charged the service fees for 14.5 hours originally, and then you charged the money for 14.25 hours. And you charge for the time spent on writing reports, etc. And what Ms. Khan was saying, that if no one was there in the premises when you conducted the inspection, why did you still need to write the reports? And so what you're saying is that you reflected honestly the situation during the inspections, but you still charged an hourly rate for the 14.25 hours spent. Yes, that was the case in the past. Well, moving forward, do you have plans to review this system? We completely agree to the recommendations made by the audit in this regard. I heard from the Secretary that there may be a chance that you will they will recover the service fees. For example, if an inspection was unsuccessful, then you would not need to write a report, and therefore you would not need to charge the service fees for the time spent on the report. Thank you, Chair. Of course, the Council should agree to the audit recommendations because it was the audit that found out that 43.7% of the inspections was unsuccessful. But still, they charged for the services. According to the debit note, it was in March. Of course, they had to seek a refund for such services. But what I'm saying is that why did the management allow such situation to take place? I think the LWB should be held accountable. Secretary, please. This is undesirable. If the problem was spotted by audit, then we have to make relevant improvement. First, moving forward, we have to make it clear. The existing agreement is not clear enough. Then we have to make it clear what a successful inspection means. And secondly, we'll seek the refund from the agency or the council for the unsuccessful inspections. Chair, you were completely correct that the Bureau should be held accountable as they were responsible for monitoring the situation, but still, the council also had to review their management system. Any response from the council? I've heard the views. No more questions from Ms. Khan, so next, Mr. Lewis Long. Thank you, Chair. I would like to follow up on the questions made by Ms. Khan. I'm glad to hear that the Council and the Bureau admit that they should be held accountable. Well, to recover the service fees over the past 5 years, I wonder what mechanism you would use. In the existing agreement or contract, there are no clauses relating to recovery of service fees. Does that mean the council will voluntarily return the service fees concerned to the Bureau? Secretary. Well, the inspections were unsuccessful, but doesn't mean that they didn't do anything to carry out the inspection. So we should only target the part of work that was done for unsuccessful inspections that were unnecessary, but fees were paid. So we are following up on the council, or following up on that part of the money with the council to see how we can seek a refund. They said they would cooperate fully with us. Mr. Long, I'm not saying that the Bureau has to recover all the service fees. I'm just saying that they should recover the fees for the services that were unnecessary or that were not done or provided. My other question concerns paragraph 2.11 of part 2 of the report. It says that as at the 1st of July 2022, 5,239 courses on the reimbursable course list were shown as courses with valid QR registration. When we were going through part 1 of the report, the Bureau and the audit gave a response, but still I couldn't understand the response completely. In page 4 of the report in table 2, if you look at it apple to apple, that is the courses registered under 14 sectors listed out in Table 2, the total number is 3,149 if you add them all up. And the time for both is the 1st of July 2022. So I'm just wondering how you compare 3,149 and 5,239 courses.
You're referring to Table 2 on page 4, right? Yes, the total here should be 7,298. Now, and 7,298 is 4,149 plus 3,147, and that gives you the total of 7,298. But the first part are courses not yet registered, so I'm using an apple-to-apple comparison. So I've only singled out courses registered under QF, and the total here is 3149, and I am comparing 3149 with 5239 in para 2.11. How come the two do not tally? What is the reason for that? I think we should invite the Audit Commission to answer this question. The number of courses in para 2.11 is 5,239, and still on the 1st of July 2022, you have only 3,149 shown in Table 2. Can you explain why are the two figures not consistent? Let me try. As explained by the Bureau in CF website, reimbursable course do not just include that 7,298 on the list. There are courses that have lapsed. They are no longer reimbursable courses because the registration has expired. But for the benefit of claimants, these courses are still included, and to let them know. So there are 7,298 still valid. Apart from that, there are 3,000 odd that are no longer CEF, that have a valid CEF registration. So there should be about 10,000 or so courses. So the 5,000 odd courses are reimbursable course with valid QR registration. So some of them are within the 7,298 and some are not. So there are 5,239 with valid QR registration. We wanted to check if that was correct, and some discrepancy was found. So this 5,000 odd courses were not all included in the 7,000 odd cases. Some are, some are not. Some of them are no longer valid reimbursable courses, but the course is still on the list because there may be claimants who took those courses in the past and they've yet to make a claim. And we check those courses to see if they were correct. So not all of the 5,000 odd courses are in the 7,000 odd cases. If they are not within the 7,000 odd cases, where are they? So this 7,298 are QF courses, right? Yes. The total is 7,298 all QF courses. Some are no longer valid, some still are. Am I correct? 7,298. There are 9 courses are no longer with valid QR registration. We haven't checked all. All right. 7,289 is the total. Is it true that some of the courses within this 7,000 odd courses have expired, but they are still included because some claimants have yet to make a claim, so the 7,000 odd cases is not correct? No, the 7,298 are still valid with the exception of a few that are not. And the awards on the website have included courses where the CEF registration has expired. For claimants' reference, I don't quite understand. Can you please help? Well, there is a table. Perhaps I can provide a supplementary information paper afterwards. There are 4 things. First, CEF recognized courses. And CEF recognized courses will include those with valid QR registration. And there are courses that are still valid and some are not. Even though the registration has expired, it has to be on the website for claims purpose. So when we took samples, we included some courses not on the website because they are still eligible for claims. Since it's rather complicated, we will give you another paper. It's better than giving you an oral explanation. Mr. Low, I thank the director for such information, but my understanding is, if you don't mind, can we go to table 2 on page 4 again? I just want to confirm if my understanding is correct. In the first half of the table, courses registered under 9 sectors before the 1st of April 2019. So if they want to continue, then they have to register again by the 31st of March 2019. So these 9 are not within the QF, right? The courses registered under 9 sectors: business services, creative industries, administration. If I may have a go, items 1 to 9 on table 2. There are 4149 courses. 4149. And these are 4. It's not that all of them are not registered under QF, because starting from Channel 8, with the implementation of a qualifications framework, they became a prerequisite in order to promote the QF. However, these are old courses. They were registered between 2002 and 2008, and back then the classification was under 9 sectors. Some of them might have already obtained QR registration, and they already on QF. It's just that they have not informed the CEF. So some of these courses already have valid QR registration. So those that have, plus the 3,149 under the 14 sectors in the qualifications framework, I think the total will be around 5,239 mentioned. Because the fund started in 2002, and back then there was no qualifications framework yet. And then in 2008, the administration encouraged them to register under the QF. So courses which applied in 2002 were not in the QF. But then, starting from the 1st of April 2019, 14 sectors were introduced. So those registered after 2019 must be in the QF. So for the first 4,000 cases, if they were registered before 2008, they might not be QF registered, and the discrepancy may be because of this reason, and you have to work out the different figures again. So perhaps the Director of Audit can give us an information paper afterwards to clarify the situation. Thank you. Mr. Leung, please go on. Para 2.2A1. Requirements on course providers. The course providers need to have at least 2 years of continuous experience in the delivery of similar courses. And para 2.19, the government's response is it will encourage course providers to develop new courses. And para 2.2A1 requires course providers to have at least 2 years of continuous experience. So apart from those which are self-accrediting institutions. So on the one hand, you want more service providers to provide more new courses, and on the other hand, you want them to have at least 2 years of experience in the delivery of similar courses. So it may be a chicken and egg problem. Now, if a course provider hasn't got 2 years of experience, how can they meet your requirement? How can they provide more new courses? Now, we talked about at least 2 years of continuous experience in the delivery of similar courses. This is for quality assurance sake. Well, for the first 2 years of delivery of these courses, those courses may not be reimbursable. But then after 2 years, the courses will be of quality, and then they can become reimbursable. There is no contradiction. So the courses may not be new in the market, but new to the fund. It's just to ensure that the courses are sustainable and practicable. Does that answer your question? Yes, but then the two requirements, or rather, there seems to be some contradiction here. If you want new courses, perhaps you may need to reconsider this requirements of 2 years of continuous experience. And then, in particular, this requirement is not applicable to self-accrediting institutions. It seems that the institutions are not on a level playing field. Now, for courses provided by the 8 UGC-funded universities and the Metropolitan University, they are self-accrediting institutions. This is not really unfair because they are established institutions with their self-accreditation mechanism. So for other course providers, the requirement of at least 2 years of continuous experience can ensure quality. So we have to strike a balance. On the one hand, we want to ensure that programs are of quality, and second, there can be innovation in course provision. I think the crux of Mr. Leung's question is if you are asking for at least 2 years of experience and yet in para 2.19 you encourage course providers to develop new courses. There seems to be a contradiction here. And the reply from the secretary is the two are separate. And I think Mr. Sun is asking course providers to develop new courses. And then perhaps in the first 2 years of delivery of new courses, the courses are not reimbursable, but after 2 years they can be. And this is conducive to the market, to the development of the market. Yes, Mr. Long. If the 8 UGC-funded universities and Metropolitan University, I beg your pardon, now you encourage new courses to be developed. That means only the UGC-funded universities and Metropolitan University can be waived of the 2 years of experience requirement. In other words, only these 9 universities can offer new courses. Not necessarily. I understand that there are private institutions can offer such courses. And there are worries that there is no quality assurance. So the administration would want course providers to run such courses for at least 2 years for quality assurance. Now we are talking about similar courses. Well, it can be a new course, but among similar courses. Different but similar. All right, that's accepted. Para 2.31c. A question was asked by another member already. In July 2018, the suggestions on class inspection was accepted. However, up to 2021-22, no class inspections have been conducted. And the explanation given here was because of COVID-19. But does that mean that starting from July 2018 to 2021, there have been no class inspections? If my understanding is correct, that is prior to the pandemic. That is in 2018 and 2019 when there was not yet COVID-19. How come there was no class inspections as well?
I thank the member for his questions. This is about class inspections. The point is to have someone inspecting the class while a class is happening. This is about checking the quality of the delivery. In July 2018, we agreed with the recommendation from the Council. The inspections were about to be implemented in 2019 and 20. We needed experts to be involved during the inspections, that is the class inspections. we couldn't get the right kinds of experts right away. That was what happened in the first year. But in the second year, COVID struck. We could not get the experts involved. Some experts were less than willing to go on those class inspections. So we postponed things to this year. We discussed the matter with the council. The plan is to have 15 class inspections. We're still in talks with the council on how to make these class inspections happen by March next year. Maybe the council will have more to say on this. Mr. Albert Chow, anything to add from you? In 2019 to 20, when the plan was about to be put into practice, we ran into difficulties, so nothing came of it, and then COVID struck. We will try to make that happen as quickly as possible. Mr. Lewis Long. Last question from me. Paragraph 2.33. The publicity and promotion of course providers. The course providers have to meet specific requirements. Specific wording needs to be in the promotion materials. Course providers cannot promote non-CEF courses in the same promotional leaflets or materials for CEF courses. Course providers promote courses of all sorts, CEF or otherwise. So they are expected to have separate promotional materials for non-CEF courses. Will this requirement create difficulties for cross providers? I will invite the agency to tell us more about this. This requirement is in place because we don't want the course providers to lump together the CEF courses, that is the reimbursable courses, with the non-CEF courses. This is about not misleading the potential learners. There's a reason behind this, and maybe my colleague will have something to add here. Mr. Sunny Yeung. Chair, often course providers offered 100 or 200 courses at a time. Out of those courses, maybe just a couple of them are CEF courses. If these courses are lumped together with other non-CEF courses, potential learners may be misled. So we require separate promotional materials. No lumping together, in other words. So our inspection officers would look out for this problem. When irregularities were found, officers will look at the degree of seriousness. Reminders or warning letters would be sent. So during inspections, no irregularities of this sort were found. Is that the case? This means the course providers had two brochures, one for CEF courses and another brochure for non-CEF courses. Mr. Sunny Yeung. I don't have the specific figures at hand on this kind of irregularity and the follow-up letters being sent, but I believe there were some such cases. Mr. Lewis Long. Are you saying that you must have come across such cases, Mr. Sunny Yeung? From my understanding, I'm saying this is not a rare occurrence. Our officers looked out for this kind of problems during inspections. In previous inspections, we came across cases where CEF courses and non-CEF courses were lumped together. So we would keep an eye out for the promotional materials to see if CEF courses and non-CEF courses were lumped together. We will provide supplementary information after the meeting on irregularities of this sort and the follow-up action taken. Mr. Long? I have no further questions, Chair. Next, Ms. Eunice Young. Chair, my question has to do with paragraph 2.33 for the promotional leaflet. Both the council and the agency keep an eye on the promotional leaflet. During inspections, the officers looked at the promotional materials available for inspection. The two bodies looked at the promotional materials. In paragraph 2.42, it said that in certain promotional materials, information incompatible with the CEF's aim was included. For example, some promotional leaflets featured information that presented the course as paving the way for immigration. Different courses were featuring immigration or preparations for immigration as a way to lure learners. If the inspections fail to uncover these problematic promotional leaflets, is that a sign that both the agency and the council fail to do their job? The audit report says that some promotional leaflets were promoting their courses by describing them as preparations for immigration. This is unsatisfactory. We wrote to these course providers because such practice is inconsistent with the CEF's aim. In serious cases, we do not rule out the possibility of revoking the qualification of course providers to offer courses. We do a sample check at this stage. We also have to adapt in our investigation because some of these ads are online ads. We have to make better use of the internet. After all, these are CEF courses. Not many ads feature preparations for immigration as a way to attract learners. I will invite the head of the agency to elaborate on this point. There can be a blanket ban on the use of immigration as a way to attract learners. We also have to find a way to identify all these ads. Mr. Tang. Indeed, during our inspections, we found these cases, and in fact, the audit also found these cases. Our records do not show that our officers uncovered promotional leaflets featuring preparations for immigration as a way to attract learners. Our officers may not be alert enough. We were not aware of these promotional leaflets, so the management did not ask the frontline officers to pay particular attention to these leaflets. Now that the audit has uncovered these materials, we will be more vigilant. After this audit report came out, we wrote to all course providers. Promotional leaflets featuring courses as a preparation for immigration are not in line with the CEF's aim. If we become aware of any course providers doing this, we will ask the providers to remove those promotional materials. This is ongoing work. We can think of new ways. Checking the information online, for example, are there CEF courses promoted as something that will help people with immigration? And if we find something like that, then we can do something about that. Ms. Eunice Young, there are on-site inspections, surprise inspections. These are in the course registration guide. You only did sample checking in the past. In approving the CEF registration, can you get the applicants to submit their promotional materials to have a look, even during the application? That's how you can ensure that the promotional leaflets are in line with the requirements. My second question. The audit has found problematic materials. Apart from issuing oral warnings, has the government removed these promotional materials? The applicant or course providers can amend their promotional leaflets even if they have got their materials approved. The focus is on identifying all these promotional materials featuring immigration as a way to get people to enroll in those courses. We're talking about a large number of courses. Many of these leaflets are available as online ads. We know these are CEF courses, and the same terms come up all the time for these ads. We can do a keyword search, identify all these ads, and proactively. We can warn the course providers in the first instance, and in serious cases, we do not rule out the possibility of removing that course altogether or suspending the course altogether. But so far, we haven't had to resort to the most serious penalty. The point of Ms. Yong is whether the government will require all applicant or course providers to submit their promotional leaflets during application, and if the course providers subsequently amend their materials, there will be consequences. This is done as a way to make sure the promotional leaflets that do go out do not feature problematic information. A question for the Council. Do you have anything to say here, since you are the authority approving the materials? We will make sure the materials do not go against the purpose of CEF. Scanning through the information online will help us identify these information or materials quickly. But doing that will also mean additional workload for the Council. Follow-up action may be needed, so there may be difficulties. Chair, without vetting or screening of the promotional leaflets during application, and you have to rely on scanning online. You have to check everything manually online. You cannot have automatic scanning of information online. If you don't do the gatekeeping early on, you will only incur additional resources down the road, and you can only do a sample check. You cannot check everything during your surprise inspections. Why is it so hard for you to pledge vetting at an earlier stage? Ask the course providers to submit all their promotional materials during the application for CEF registration. Why is it so hard for the government? Chair, I believe the members' comments were made out of good intentions. To do that, we will have to write to every single course provider, warn them that they cannot put immigration in the promotional leaflet as a way to promote the course. A proactive checking online is also a way to deter course providers from breaking this rule. During the application for CEF registration, the applicants have to submit a lot of information, and there's a lot of work, and we have to have regard to the resources available at the council. It's hard to meet the 60-day stipulated time frame even now. So if we add more requirements to the approval process, then we will have to be mindful of the consequences. Promotional materials are amended from time to time. Say the course venue may change if the course provider moves to a different venue, and then they will have to come back to us informing us of the change to the course promotional materials. We rarely had problems like this in the past, but the Audit Commission has alerted us to the problem, and we realize it's a serious problem. This is a no-go, and doing so is in breach of the or inconsistent with the CEF's goal. The course providers are now aware of this. I know it's hard to scan everything online, but we are aware of this problem now. So we will come up with a way to make good use of our resources to do the checking. We attach importance to this matter. Trying to get people to sign up for a course with immigration is unacceptable, so we will do what we can to stamp out this practice. Ms. Eunice Young, the Labor and Welfare Bureau needs to step up its game in staying on top of this problem. Many loopholes have been uncovered by the audit report. The government really needs to keep an eye on the situation, make good use of the technology available. Don't just rely on the paper-based records. A report may be received and then nothing is done. From registration and the receiving of documents, there needs to be an electronic process, and that's how the government can tell how things are working. We don't know when the next audit report will be, so there's a need to enhance the entire workflow, boost the efficiency, so that the audit report actually produces result and make sure the courses are actually benefiting people. Ms. Carmen Kai made a great point. Find out what kind of talent we need now, what kind of knowledge is more suited to this day and age. Do that and then approach the course providers, the 200 course providers you mentioned. Get in touch with them and ask them to provide the courses we need. That's a great idea. The technology falls under Part 4. Anything to add from you, Mr. Sun?
Thank you, Ms. Young, for the recommendation. Indeed, we can make it more efficient if we make good use of technology, and it can save our manpower. Next, Ms. Carmen Khan. Thank you, Chair. Ms. Young asked some comprehensive questions. I would like to focus on paragraph 2.45 of the report, which concerns response from the government. It's about the government's response on the promotion materials that are used for paving way for immigration. Here are what the government said. First, step up the frequency of inspections on promotion materials. Well, the government said that it would be hard to vet the materials at the earlier stage. So I wonder if you can step up your regulatory action. And for 2.45b, it is said here that the agency would advise course providers not to promote reimbursable courses in a way deviating from the objectives of CEF. Well, if it is difficult for you to vet the materials beforehand, are you only going to advise the course providers because for C, you said that you will take appropriate regulatory actions? So if you're not going to do enough vetting at the earlier stage, when you find or detect such cases, you should not take the matter lightly. Well, it is mentioned here that some 227 reminders were issued to course providers concerned. Well, according to CEF terms and conditions, LWB has the right to deregister the courses provided by the course providers concerned. So my question is, if the learners have already enrolled in the courses concerned, what would the government do? Would you suspend the relevant courses? You should not simply advise the course providers not to repeat such actions. I want to know what kind of follow-up actions you will take. Secretary, please. Well, some reminders were issued to course providers, and we'll provide these letters to the committee later. I want to say clearly that we do not accept such behaviors of course providers. So in our letters, we said clearly to course providers that we do not want them to promote the courses in this way. And if such behaviors repeat, and if the cases are serious, we can revoke the registration of their courses. But regarding what we will do if such courses have already been signed up by some course participants or learners, we'll see what we can do. But our message to the course providers is clear. They should not promote the courses this way, and we do not accept such behavior of the course providers. And if such acts arise, we will consider canceling the registration of the course providers. Were their cases so serious that you decided to deregister the courses? Let's see if the agency can provide relevant examples. You're not relating specifically or referring specifically to promotion materials concerning immigration, right? As far as I understand, there were some courses that were deregistered in the past. Let's see if the controller has the information at hand. Thank you, Chair. According to my record at hand, courses that were deregistered, well, the latest example we see here is in 2021. Well, we cancelled 6 courses of the course provider concerned. Reason being that the course provider was involved in some fraudulent acts or deception. But in terms of course providers promoting their courses in a way that we mentioned, we do not see such cases in our record at the moment. Yes, Ms. Khan. Can the government also provide information on CEF terms and conditions? Well, it is mentioned in 2.45b and c that CEF exercises its power based on the terms and conditions. We will provide the relevant information after the meeting. Next, Mr. Michael Luke. I'm also concerned about paragraph 2.45. That is, some course providers promote their courses as a means of paving the way for emigration. If there are promotional materials that are not in line with the course, say if you complete your educational courses and you move overseas, I wonder if there are examples that can be provided by the government showing that you issue guidelines for course providers to follow so that they do not promote their courses in an inappropriate way. Do you have such a guideline for the course providers to follow? Are you referring to a negative list? Do you have any examples that you can raise? Well, now we see that some course providers trying to promote their course in a way to pave way for immigration. But it's hard for me to think of an example that covers all kinds of cases. Well, the purpose or the objective of CEF is for you to enhance your capability. So if you do not provide too fancy promotion materials, I think that would do. In fact, we do not have such a list for course providers. Well, Mr. Luke asked if there are some examples in which we do not allow course providers to do. For example, on their promotion materials, they should include the CEF logo, and also, as mentioned, they should not lump CEF courses and non-CEF courses together. But as to examples which show violations of CEF terms and conditions, I cannot think of specific examples that we encounter in recent years. Chair, I think we need to have some kind of imagination in order to tackle this problem. Well, for example, if a course provider promotes the course as an interest class, is it allowed under the CEF terms and conditions, because the course may not have anything to do with the course participants' career development. Well, another extreme example that I can think of is, we all know that there is what we call the yellow economic circle. Well, they try different ways to use the resources from the government to create chaos. Well, we have some celebrities from the Yellow Ribbon camp, and they may use slogans in their publicity materials to attract learners from Yellow Ribbon camp. Is it allowed if promotion materials involve such political promotion, or if the materials promote political beliefs? For example, in the district council, there were also members who used the resources this way. I'm just making up some examples here. So I wonder if you can provide a list to course providers so that they know what to look out for when they devise or create the promotion materials. Chair, we mentioned in the audit report that if LWB finds some of the promotion materials not suitable or not appropriate, we'll ask the relevant course providers to remove these materials. But as to whether there is an exhaustive list that can be provided to course providers to tell them what kind of things they should not do, I find it difficult. Because if we release such a list and there are situations arising because of the list, the course providers may argue with us. Well, they may also say that they were not reminded by the government departments and they do not know what is not allowed under the terms and conditions. Well, under the CEF terms and conditions, the right of deciding what is appropriate or not is on LWB, and they have the right to decide what promotion materials should be removed. Well, do you have mechanism in place or penalty mechanism in this regard? Secretary, please. Well, I understand the intention of Mr. Luke is good. I understand that Mr. Luke wants us to plan ahead. It's hard for us to come up with a detailed list. Well, we will provide the CEF terms and conditions to members later. We plan to amend the terms and conditions. As Mr. Luke said, if there are unexpected situations and we think that the promotion materials are not appropriate and deviate from the objectives of CEF, there should be penalty, including deregistration of the courses concerned. So we have to think about how to amend the terms and conditions. The Secretary of Labor and Welfare reserves the right to require the relevant course providers to withdraw the promotion materials concerned. So as we amend the terms and conditions, we have to take this into consideration. We cannot rule out the possibilities of having different kinds of promotion materials created by course providers. Therefore, we need to look into details the terms and conditions when we amend them, so that when we find cases where promotion materials are inappropriate, we have the right to require relevant course providers to withdraw these materials, to prevent course providers to manipulate the CEF to achieve certain political purpose. Secretary, I hope that apart from asking the course providers to withdraw the materials, I think there should be a penalty mechanism in place. Thank you. I see that Ms. Khan has raised her hand. It's now 6:20. The meeting is scheduled to end at 6:30. Shall we let Ms. Khan ask her question before we end the meeting? I have a follow-up question. Well, the agency mentioned that in 2021, 6 courses provided by a course provider were cancelled because the course provider concerned was involved in a fraud or deception case. I want to know, when a course is deregistered, what are the follow-up actions to be taken by the government? For example, what would you do to the courses that were in place? Would the course provider have the chance to open the course again by changing their names? Or is it the responsibility of the council to take care of these courses or course providers so that we can ensure that the problems can be tackled at its root, because what we don't want to see is the course providers who violated terms and conditions would open new courses by changing their names or changing the names of their companies. Secretary, please. I'll invite Mr. Wen to respond. Well, regarding the deregistration of the course provider, the courses were deregistered not because of the fraud cases. It was because the course provider was involved in a fraud case or deception case itself. And that course provider is the person in charge of the CEF courses concerned. That's why we activated the CEF terms and conditions and take follow-up actions. When that course provider was prosecuted, we immediately suspended all the CEF courses provided by that person. After that, when the courses were suspended, we tried to protect course participants' interests by asking them to finish the course hours as soon as possible, and that the course providers would not be allowed to take in new students. In the end, the course provider concerned was successfully prosecuted. So what we did was that the 6 courses involved that were provided by the course provider were deregistered or removed from our CEF list. And the course director concerned was not allowed to make registration for CEF courses for a certain period of time. So there is a certain mechanism in place for the course providers concerned to reopen courses. Well, you have the terms and conditions in place. I am concerned about the follow-up mechanism you have. Well, is the council aware of this? Does the council have ways to be informed that such courses or course providers were deregistered so that they know not to approve their applications again? Well, this is related to the question asked by Ms. Young, that is how you can make good use of technology to tackle such problems so that relevant government or departments would not be misinformed. Chair, when we decide to deregister a course or a course provider, we inform the council and the agency the name list or course directors or persons in charge concerned. If these people try to create or open new courses under CEF or apply for registration again, we will be aware of that because we ask them not to apply for registration within a certain period.
Ms. Ken, the question is for how long? And what types of criminal offenses do you have a list of these offenses and also the period of suspension? On the current mechanism, the person is prohibited from replying again within 2 years. Ms. Ken? then you should also include types of publicity materials prohibited. You should review the terms and conditions from time to time. The purpose of the audit is to help the administration to improve the operation. So let's be forward-looking in this audit study. Thank you. Yes, noted. Thank you. Right, on part 2, do members have any more questions? And nothing more from the lead member, Ms. Yong, right? All right, then we will start from part 3 in our next meeting, which is scheduled for the 12th of December, Monday, from 3 to 5 p.m. All right. Audit. Mr. Leung has asked for some information. Would you mind if I do the explanation now? Yes, please do, Director. Now, in table 2, on table 2, we have got the classification before 2019 and after. In the first part, there are 1,400 odd courses. Some of them already in the QF, and that doesn't tally with the 3,000 odd. Now the agency has not grouped it into the second part of the table. Does that answer your question, Mr. Long? So my understanding is this table was a snapshot on the 1st of July 2022. So among the 4149 courses, on the 1st of July, as at the 1st of July 2022, some of the 4,000 odd courses already in the QF. So the presentation of the table is not entirely accurate, right? Well, that's based on information from the administration, and you're correct in saying that we'll have taken figures from the administration to form table 2, and in our audit we obtained another set of data which may not tally with the figures here, and we have tried very hard to find out among the 4,000 odd cases were under the 9 sectors on the day of registration, and they have not been taken out and put back into the new classification. Well, whether the presentation can be clearer in the future, this is a question for the agency. All right. I think it would be much better for the benefit of members if you can make a clearer presentation. All right, we understand the situation a little better after your explanation. If there are no further questions, I thank the administration and also representatives from the Audit Commission for their attendance. The next meeting is scheduled at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the 12th of December. Thank you. We will start with part 3 next time. Thank you.